Okay, chapter 2. Heating Earth's surface and atmosphere. I told you the first few chapters are going to be boring. You gotta hang with me here. Alright, so there's two things you should know about the Earth and the Sun. Right? The Earth goes around the Sun, and the Earth spins. I know you're shocked. But rotation is called the spinning of the Earth on the Earth. It's the spinning. Right? So rotation is the spinning. Okay? Revolution is going around the Sun. Right? Two words that get mixed up a lot. Right? We don't rotate around the Sun, we revolve around the Sun. Okay? Two other words you should probably know just because they're fun. Perihelion and aphelion. Perihelion is when we are closest to the Sun. So yes, we orbit the Sun in a circle-ish. I can't even say that with a straight face, right? It's sort of kind of a circle. Right? But the sort of kind of means that we get closer to the Sun at one point and further away from the Sun at another point. And so everyone's like, oh, we're closer to the Sun in July or August. And you're like, nope. We're actually closer to the Sun in January. January 3rd. Now, that's called perihelion. Aphelion is when we're further away from the Sun, and that happens July 4th. Right? So, while you're celebrating Independence Day, you should also yell, yay, Aphelion Day! Because it would be really fun to confuse your friends and family. I mean, that's why I do most stuff. So, you know, yay, Aphelion Day, and Happy Independence Day at the same time. It'd be cute. Alright, so this YouTube video explains rotation and revolution. Right? If I could do this for you, I would, but A, I'm not capable, and B, this is an online course, so you can't actually see me. So just pretend that I am capable of doing this.
Hi, I'm Slick Willie Shaw.
And I'm Scooter Christensen, and we're from the world-famous Harlem Globetrotters.
And today we're going to show you how to add a little style to your game. We're going to teach you how to spin the basketball. First thing first is you want to have a steady base. You want to have your index finger real sturdy so you can have a base. You want to spin the basketball on the seams. You want to get a nice strong spin. Me preferably, I like to spin the ball on my nail. It has a nice smooth spin to it. So here we go.
And look at that rotation.
Now look, with a lot of hard work
and he's rotating the ball too.
You can get to this level. Show them what you can do, Slick. That's one. Hey,
rotation.
You got two. Now that's Globetrotter basketball
rotation
right there.
And revolution at the same time.
There we go.
There you go.
Hey,
that was rotation and revolution.
Show him something else.
Now just rotation.
Well, check this out. See if I can get it here, Slick.
Oh, he gets fancy.
Woo! Right to the top.
Look at that rotation.
The game of basketball is supposed to be fun.
On his head.
A couple of things to keep it fun. So hard work and practice, you can end up like me and Scooter.
Didn't think you'd be watching basketball, did you? Okay. So what causes the seasons? If we're not closer to the Sun in the summertime, then what causes the summertime? Well, that's the angle of the Sun. Right? So if you look over at this part, you can see how the angle affects. Right? A high angle of 90 degrees means that we're getting all of the energy that the Sun is blasting towards us, which in this course is good. And so it's coming down, you get all of it, so that's why you have lovely tropical, palm trees and a little island there, right? You can almost imagine that you're there. I mean, it's Tampa, we're pretty close, but not quite, right? And then the next picture down here, this is basically the breadbasket, where they're getting a lower angle, right? And so it's coming in at a lower angle, so they're not getting all of the energy, but they're getting a good chunk of energy, right? And then down here, you have an even lower angle, and you have a lovely igloo, right? Yay. I can pretend I'm here, and I can pretend I'm here. I'm not even going to try to pretend I'm here. Right? I live in Florida for a very specific reason. So, if the angle is important, well then what's these equinoxes and solstices that we hear a lot about? The longest day and the shortest day. Yay! I mean, those are great, right? The longest day, the sun is up for so long, and if you have little kids, it's horrible because you can't get them to bed because the sun's still up at bedtime. You guys don't have kids yet, so don't worry about that, but you will one day. And the shortest day is miserable because the sun's not up. It seems like ever, right? And these actually have fancy names. Solstices, summer, and winter. We'll get into those in a little bit. And then over here we have the equinoxes. Okay, and we'll get into those in a little bit. But first let's talk about the Earth. Did you know the Earth is not straight up and down? Hopefully most of you said yes, right? We have an angle of 23.5 degrees. Okay, so let's face it, the Earth is off its rocker. However, we are in good company because we are not the only ones off of our rocker. For example, Uranus, or Uranus, however you want to say it, argue with me all you want, it's at 97 degrees, so it's basically on its side. Right? And there's a whole story with that. Not a very good story, but there's a story. And then Venus is completely upside down. Okay, so we're off our rocker like a little bit. You know, we're still a little bit okay. So if you look at the way the sun's rays get to us, you can see it's not an even distribution, right? It takes a little bit longer to get up here, it has to go a little bit further than here. That affects us. Right? So as we go around the sun, so we don't have 4 Earths here, this is just Earth going from the sun, there's sun. The sun's rays hit directly at different places. This one's a little hard to see, so I'm not really gonna focus on that. Here it's hitting the equator. Here it's hitting the Tropic of Cancer. Here it's hitting the Tropic of Capricorn. Right? And so that's what we call the solstices and the equinoxes. Right, now I'm going to get into that. So, solstices. Right, I said there were 2. Let's look at the summer one. The summer one happens in June. Right? Now it says June 21st or 22nd. That's correct. Right? If I ask you that on a test, I'm not going to say, is it June 21st or June 24th? That's just me. I'll be like, is it March or June? Right, so summer solstice. Hopefully you can figure that one out. Now what's happening here is it's this guy right here. The sun's rays are hitting the Tropic of Cancer, 23.5 degrees north. And look, there's Tampa, right? We're not too far away, but we're still not quite there. But this means that it produces, for the northern hemisphere, the longest day. Right? And if you want to kind of get your brain around what's happening in the southern hemisphere, in case you have any friends in the southern hemisphere, South America, India, Australia, right? They're actually having their shortest day because all the sun's rays are in the northern hemisphere. Now, the winter solstice, all the sun's rays are in the southern hemisphere, the Tropic of Capricorn. So that means they're having their longest day, but we're having our shortest day. Okay, so December, the shortest day in the northern hemisphere, December 21st or 22nd. Again, is it going to be July or December, right? Not December 24th. What's also fun when you want to think about this stuff, the southern hemisphere is having their longest day in December. So the rays are hitting them in December. So they're getting most of the energy in December. So their summer is December. But Christmas is still December 25th. So that means they have Christmas in summer? Does Santa have to change into a lighter outfit? Kind of something I think about, the way my brain works. Okay, moving on to equinoxes. I also want to say equinites because that's how I say it in my head. But equinoxes. Okay, why am I saying equinites? Because that's what it means. In the Latin, it means equal night. Equinox. Well, what does that mean? That means there's 24 hours of sunlight, 24 hours of darkness on the equinox throughout the world. What else does that mean? Well, in regards to the sun is pointing to the equator, right? Its rays are directed exactly at the equator. It is down here too, you just can't see it, right? So here's kind of a better picture. Exactly at the equator. There's 2 of these again, so one is the autumnal or the fall, and that happens in September 21st or 22nd. They're all 21st or 22nd. And in the spring, which is also called the vernal. Again, 21st or 22nd, but this time March. Springtime, right? So these guys are basically the ones I remember. I always have to think about the solstices, but I never have to think about the equinoxes. Because equinox means equal night, and the sun is hitting the equator. So equinox, equal night, equator. See where I'm going with that? Whereas the solstice, I'm like, okay, that's the other one. Now let's figure out if we're summer or winter. This is the video about how we still follow and how important the equinoxes and solstices are throughout history.
Fall into balance, lasting for nearly equal lengths. Known as equinoxes, Latin for equal night, they occur in March and September, and along with solstices, mark the changing of seasons as Earth travels around the sun. Astronomers like to describe the equinox within the conceptual celestial sphere. Here, the heavens are projected around the Earth like an enormous planetarium. The model is bisected by the celestial equator, a projection of Earth's own equator. The equinox occurs at the point at which the sun's path, or ecliptic, crosses the celestial equator. In spring, it is known as the vernal equinox, and in fall, the autumnal equinox. The other two seasonal points on the sun's path are the two solstices. In the northern hemisphere, the summer solstice marks the longest day of the year, while the winter solstice marks the shortest. The seasonal aligning of the sun has been more than just a unique celestial event for humankind throughout history. Ancient sites like Stonehenge in England and Machu Picchu in Peru have well-documented solar alignments during the solstices. Similarly, the equinoxes have been associated with some amazing man-made phenomena. In the ancient Maya city of Chichen Itza, the Great Pyramid known as El Castillo is oriented along cardinal axes. During the equinoxes, shadows cast by the railings create the illusion of a writhing serpent body descending the northern steps where it joins the carved serpent's head at the base of the stairway.
Now, I just have to break in there and say, I have been to Disney a few times, and they have one of these pyramids, right? And they've got the head at the bottom, and it's in Mexico in Epcot, and you have this little boat ride that goes by it, right? And I've been on the boat ride, and every time I go on, I'm like, this time it's going to be different. I'm going to get to see the light travel down so that it looks like the snake coming with the snake head, right? Never, not once. So if any of you ever go work for Disney, could you please pass on my complaint? I have tried, but nobody's listening to me. So they really need, it's Disney. Come on, they can make mouse talk. Certainly they could do this.
The cultural significance of the fall equinox and changing of seasons continues today, especially in the northern hemisphere, where the autumnal equinox occurs around harvest season. In fact, the full moon nearest the autumnal equinox is commonly referred to as the harvest moon. In China and other Asian countries, this time is celebrated with the Mid-Autumnal Festival. The origins are linked to the birth of the moon goddess, and festival traditions revolve around families with reunions and feasts, and special moon cakes. In Jewish culture, thanks for the harvest is given during the week-long Feast of the Tabernacles, or Sukkot. Families eat meals in temporary shelters outside, recalling the Israelites' days in the wilderness after the exodus from Egypt.
So this picture is in here. It basically says, okay, like here's the solstice, here's an equinox. And they've got this not off kilter so that you can see that it's pointing at the equator and everything is getting equal nights, 12 hours of night, 12 hours of daytime. Up here, you can see it's tilted so that it's hitting the northern hemisphere, so that must be the summer solstice. And here it's tilted so it's hitting the southern hemisphere, so that must be the winter solstice. And when I talk about winter and summer, yes, I'm talking north hemisphere, right? And this picture is in here because, well, everyone buys the textbook.